He's worth tens of billions, but you'll never see him in a designer suit or a gold-plated car. No mansions on Instagram, no flashy parties. This is the richest man in Asia, living like a minimalist monk. Why? This is the story behind the world's quietest billionaire. Who is he really? First, let's figure out who's behind the wealth and the disguise. Before we ask why he hides it, we need to know how he built it. His name on paper doesn't make headlines. He's not buying football clubs, launching rockets, or walking red carpets, but if you look at power grids in Southeast Asia, shipping ports in East Africa, or bottled water labels in China, chances are his influence is there. Quiet, legal, and buried under 6 layers of shell companies. He's a blend of Gautam Adani's infrastructure empire, Zhang Shanshan's bottled water dominance, and Radhakishan Dhamani's quiet retail monopoly. Born into a lower middle-class family in a crowded suburb of Mumbai or a dusty province near Hangzhou, depending on who you ask, his start wasn't flashy. He sold grain from a streetcar or maybe worked night shifts at a cement yard. What's consistent in every version is the grind. He didn't inherit money, he earned access. His first company dealt in construction materials. It made just enough profit to get him into government procurement. Then came warehouses, logistics, land. By the early 2000s, he was quietly controlling freight corridors and utility contracts in regions no one was watching. While everyone chased tech unicorns, he was building the roads they'd need to deliver on. You won't find him giving interviews, his face doesn't appear on earnings calls. When Forbes tries to estimate his net worth, they consistently lowball it, because so much of his wealth isn't in his name. His holdings are split across relatives, longtime employees, and offshore firms. Official filings show modest income, but his real portfolio could buy private islands without blinking. In corporate circles, he's legendary. But not in the way most billionaires are. He's the ghost investor, the man behind the curtain. When companies change hands in silence or major infrastructure bids are won with zero publicity, people whisper his name. Not to praise, to acknowledge. He doesn't need you to know him, he only needs to be never seen coming. And that's exactly how he stayed on top, by staying invisible. Let's look at how he dresses like a common man on purpose. You won't catch him in Gucci, more like off-brand shirts from a local market. He's been photographed only a handful times. Never by design, always by accident. In every image, he's wearing a crisp white button-down, the kind you can buy in bulk for $10 a piece. No logo, no monogram, just fabric and function. On his feet, simple sandals in the summer, unpolished leather loafers in the winter, the kind worn by middle managers and taxi drivers. Nothing about his clothes says money, and that's exactly the point. While most billionaires signal status with rare watches or tailored Italian suits, he removes status from the equation altogether. No jewelry, no timepiece, not even a phone in hand. When he walks into a building, no one turns, and he prefers it that way. It's not modesty, it's strategy. The fewer people who notice him, the fewer questions get asked. His car isn't a Rolls-Royce or a Mercedes Maybach, it's usually a Toyota Camry or a black Honda Accord with tinted windows. Registered to a logistics firm headquartered 3 cities away. The driver wears no uniform, the car has no markings. It blends in even in traffic. His staff is trained the same way. Drivers, bodyguards, assistants, they are coached to avoid eye contact, speak only when necessary, and dress like everyone else in the room. The bodyguard looks like a tired uncle in a polo shirt. His executive assistant could be mistaken for a school teacher. You wouldn't know who they were protecting until they were already gone. He doesn't attend fashion shows, and he's never made a guest list. But he knows exactly how fashion works, because silence is its own look. When everyone's trying to be seen, disappearing is the most powerful thing you can do. And in a world where the rich are obsessed with being recognized, this billionaire has chosen the exact opposite. To look like someone you'd walk past without thinking twice. Because in his world, wealth is best protected and no one can tell you have it. His home might shock you, not because it's big, but because it isn't. This isn't a fortress, it's a 2-story home with old paint and a rusty gate. From the outside, it looks like a place your retired uncle might live. Quiet, unremarkable, and maybe even in need of renovation. There's no security camera above the door, no uniformed guards. The garden is overgrown, the mailbox leans slightly to the left. But appearances are deliberate in his world. This isn't where the wealth lives, it's where suspicion dies. While others flaunt towers and estates, his true assets are scattered and submerged under layers of legal camouflage. A resort property in Bali, registered to a hospitality startup run by a former driver. A high-rise apartment in Singapore, legally held by a private equity firm based in Mauritius. Even a vineyard in France, tied back to a cousin whose name hasn't been in the press since 1989. The house where he steps and sleeps in is not where he owns. It's a placeholder, a stage prop for a man who prefers to live like a myth. Rare photos show him standing in a plain balcony, looking out over a quiet street. Most who live nearby think he's a retired accountant or maybe a government clerk. Some say they've seen him jogging at dawn, alone in worn-out sneakers. Even his inner circle treats the place like a formality. Meetings happen elsewhere, quiet lounges in 5-star hotels, private floors of commercial buildings. He doesn't appear to own, but absolutely controls. The house is less about living, more about erasing footprints. Occasionally, a package arrives from abroad. No luxury brands, just brown paper, handwritten labels. Sometimes, a visitor comes, always alone, never in a car. They stay for less than 15 minutes. Neighbors don't know who they are, and that's how he likes it. He's not hiding underground, he's hiding in the open. No drones needed, no underground bunker. Just a modest house and a carefully maintained illusion. And no one would ever know. Now, let's see how he runs an empire without making noise. His companies span continents, but you'll never see his face in a boardroom photo. He doesn't chair meetings, he doesn't show up for ribbon cuttings, you won't find him quoted in trade magazines or speaking at summits, but his money moves quietly through systems most people don't even think about. His empire is invisible by design. It's operated through proxies, long-trusted lieutenants and CEOs who handle the spotlight so he doesn't have to. A steel magnate in Gujarat, a shipping tycoon in Malaysia, a pipeline consultant in the UAE. None of them list him as an owner, yet they all defer to his word. His fingerprints are all over the contracts, but the signature is never his. Meetings happen behind encrypted layers, through closed servers, secure intranet networks, and one-time use virtual data rooms. Not Zoom, no Teams. The software is custom-coded, monitored by private cybersecurity firms based in Estonia and Israel. Even his most loyal employees admit they rarely hear his voice. They get instructions through documents, timestamps, or brief audio memos with voice filters. Stakeholders are locked in with something deeper than NDAs. Loyalty forged through decades, favors, and quiet leverage. A loan extended to a struggling CEO 20 years ago. A cousin's legal case solved discreetly. A board seat saved from hostile takeover. In return, they give silence. Many don't know the full scale of his holdings. That's the point. His business model is rooted in industries that don't require branding. Commodities don't need mascots. No one asks who owns the diesel pipeline as long as it delivers. Logistics, energy, agriculture, these are systems built on need, not noise. While tech billionaires debate disruption on stage, he owns the wires under the floor. The quiet things, the stable things. One of his largest firms, registered in Cyprus, controls supply contracts across 3 continents. Its owner on paper? A retired school teacher in Jakarta. Another entity, based in the British Virgin Islands, was the primary bidder of a $600 million port terminal deal. The address listed on the tender led to a coffee shop, but the back-end signatures? They all lead back to him, hidden through layers of law. There's no Forbes profile, no LinkedIn page, but somewhere on paper in tax filings few auditors ever reach, his signature appears, once in a margin on a deal that shifted $1.2 billion in grain reserves across East Africa. Because the real power doesn't shout, it doesn't brand. It builds networks no one notices, until one day you realize the quietest man in the room owns the room. And probably the floor beneath it too. So what's the benefit of pretending to be poor when you're a billionaire? He says less because silence protects more. In a world where wealth attracts risk as much as it does status, invisibility becomes a kind of armor. For this man, privacy isn't a luxury, it's a firewall. It keeps him out of the crosshairs of kidnappers, opportunistic governments, angry mobs, and media spotlights that can destroy reputations in a single headline. He's not being modest when he dresses simply or lives plainly, he's being tactical. In countries where wealth breeds suspicion, especially when built quietly and rapidly, the wrong kind of visibility can turn into political exposure. Or worse, for every billionaire who's invited to a gala, there is another whose assets were frozen because they showed up on the wrong radar. Regulatory heat is harder to draw when your name isn't on the building. Litigators look for targets with brands. Tax authorities chase people with yachts, but when the owner is invisible, when the trail is broken, and the holdings are layered under family foundations, foreign nominees, and silent partners, the threat softens. By pretending to be a man with nothing to lose, he protects everything he has. In unstable regions, anonymity is the ultimate security protocol. Public success can bring unwanted alliances, corrupt propositions, or coercion from those who see billionaires as chess pieces. His play? Stay off the board, keep the profile low, let the CEOs take the blame, the applause, the lawsuits. And minimalism for him isn't a lifestyle trend, it's a tactic. It's hard to trace money to a man who looks like he hasn't got any. No watches, no press, no penthouse. Just clean lines and silence. He's not showing restraint, he's showing strategy. Because when the game is global and the stakes are in the billions, being loud isn't strength, disappearing in plain sight is. Not many people are in on the secret, but they're critical. His inner circle signs lifetime NDAs and they never leave. These aren't business partners, they're guardians. Their job isn't just to manage money, it's to protect the man behind it from ever becoming a headline. There's his lawyer, an aging but razor-sharp operator who hasn't changed phone numbers in 20 years. He's the architect of invisibility, the one who draws the maps no one else can read. Every holding company, every offshore trust, every quiet exit from a deal that was about to go public, he designed it. One time, when a European regulator began tracing funds linked to a maritime acquisition, the trail dead-ended at a British Virgin Islands firm owned by a religious foundation. It was legal, it was clean, it was his work. Then there's the accountant. Unlisted office, no public-facing clients. Her firm technically services small logistic companies, at least on paper. In reality, she reconciles financials across 3 continents. Moving funds between mineral rights in Mozambique, a cold storage warehouse in South Korea, and a dormant gold bond in Zurich. Every wire transfer is structured, layered, and buried beneath a dozen legal vaults. Nothing is random. She doesn't just balance books, she makes sure the books never talk. And then there's the oldest member of the circle, a childhood friend. No title, no salary, just presence. He's the one who knocks on doors when others hesitate, who can speak on the billionaire's behalf without a single word of confirmation. He once traveled to Nigeria to quietly renegotiate a stalled export deal, not as a diplomat or executive, just as a concerned partner. It worked. No one asked who he represented. They knew. Despite managing an empire, their own lives are deliberately muted. The lawyer lives in a modest flat in an old part of the city. The accountant drives a 10-year-old sedan. The childhood friend still wears a wristwatch he got in 2004. That's not neglect, it's instruction. Their modesty is enforced to reduce risk. No visible targets, no lifestyle giveaways. Even their travel is controlled, no luxury hotels, no traceable bookings. If they vacation, it's in cities where the billionaire holds no interests. They don't seek promotions, they don't take interviews, and they never ever leave. Because in a structure built entirely on trust, silence, and patience, replacing one brick could bring it all down. They aren't part of the billionaire's life, they are the structure that lets it remain hidden. And while the world looks for loud success stories, these are the people who make sure his never gets told. With this much secrecy, what happens after him? The legacy isn't set in stone, but it's already written in code. He doesn't believe in dynasties the way public billionaires do. It doesn't just hold wealth, it holds instructions. If he dies, passwords are released on delay timers. Keys to encrypted vaults unlock in sequence. Corporate proxies across his business networks are pre-briefed to execute transition protocols without fanfare or questions. It's not succession, it's a relay, already rehearsed. His children, they're not in Mumbai, not in Shanghai. They were raised elsewhere, quietly attending international schools under different surnames. Their names don't appear in company documents, their photos don't show up on any official website. One is studying political economy in Geneva, another is interning at an architecture firm in Portugal. Not by accident, every step is designed to keep them just visible enough to learn, but never enough to be targets. They don't know the full empire, not yet, only what they need to know. Knowledge will be revealed when timing calls for it, just as it was for him when his own mentor handed over a key and a letter in a parking garage in Jakarta 30 years ago. That's how this world works. Quietly, precisely. Even after he's gone, his signature won't disappear. His name may never show up, but the decisions he made will still be earning, growing, moving quietly through systems that no one can fully trace. If you were the richest person in Asia, would you hide it or flaunt it? Leave your thoughts in the comments.